Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho, and tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to offer your elemental energy bonus reading for the elemental energy of water for April of 2025. And with the bonus readings, I like to use the Celtic Cross spread, and I do make a couple of variations because it makes more sense to me to read in that pattern. So that's why if you hear some of the terms being a little different, that's why. Water energy, elemental energy covers the zodiac signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So if you are Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, or have water high up in your chart, then this reading is for you. If you have never had your charts read or you're interested to maybe update what you've got, there is a link in the description to a natal chart produced by Llewellyn. It's not a sponsored video or a sponsorship or anything like that, but it's a really good tool. It gives you the primary chart, which is the 12 houses with all the little signs and symbols, and then depending on what's in that, it's a 10 to 20 page description and detailed alignment of what all of that means. There's also a section in there on your elemental alignment, and that's kind of fun to go check out because the elemental part I found is actually just as accurate, if not more so, than your sun sign zodiac. Because, for example, mine is water dominant, air secondary, and then there's none of the other two, no earth or fire. So when you look at it from that perspective, they give you about a paragraph and a half describing what all of that means, and it was surprisingly accurate. And I've had some other friends of mine who've gotten just elemental ones through those guys from that reading, and they've said the same thing, like the element was way more than just the dominant sun sign. So just something to check out if you're interested. At the end of the card reading, the tarot reading, we will hop into some oracle cards, getting a little more clarification, or maybe answering some questions if you have questions. With that, we'll get started. So, water, your significator, so this is where you're at today as a kind of the totality of you, is number 11, the Justice card. So water, you're standing in a period of balance. You're actually in a pretty good spot. You're able to tell what needs to stay, what needs to go. You're balancing wisdom with playtime or fun. You're also being able to step into a more balanced state between work and home life, getting everything more lined up. So right now, water, you're standing really well, and that's a good sign. It's also saying that you have the ability to see and judge with a fairly neutral path as to what's going on in the world around you. So that which crosses you, so this is an obstacle, a challenge, something that's in the way, is the 10 of Wands. So there's some passion that's going on here. Wands are fire energy, so this is literally your contrary energy, water. And what we have going on with this one is something that's been kind of a passion project for you, something that you've really put your heart and soul into. Even though it's getting close to completion, it's frustrating you. There's something that's just not working right now. There's something that is you're stumbling with, kind of like me with my words today. And they're saying that this is something that you have wanted to complete. You're so close to the end, and it's driving you nuts that you can't just end it. You know you're there. You just can't find that one thing that's going to click it in. And they're saying this could be for a work relationship or some home project that you've been working on, and it's just that's what's in the way. It's kind of sitting forefront of your mind right now, where you're finding everything in balance personally. There's this one thing that's just driving you nuts because it's in the way and it won't get out of the way. So your higher self is the Hermit. They're saying to take time for yourself. Water, I'm getting a very strong vibe for you right now, that you have been running around doing so much for everyone else. The Hermit is saying, calm down, Water. Step back, do some self-care, pull away from the world, turn off the news, put on a movie, do something that helps you disconnect and helps you step away from everything in the everyday life. They're saying enough with the mundane, let's do some magic. So it's kind of like pull back from everything that's driving the stress load in the world, the fear stuff on the news, and the chaos with jobs right now. keep up with what you have to keep up with as far as the work goes, but take a break. Remember the self-care. Your higher self is really wanting you to do the things that feed your soul and help you get into a better headspace, get away from all the stress and drama. So your subconscious mind, in traditional tarot, this would be like your root. I also see it as the shadow, is the shaman in this deck, which is the magician. Shadow is saying, why are you running from your tools? Why are you running from your gifts? When we look at the shadow, it's usually where we store things we don't want to deal with. We shove it in there, we repress it, so to speak. Your shadow holds all your secrets, and in this this is your shadow card or your root card. It's saying maybe it's time to check back in on what tools you have, and maybe in doing so you may discover a new tool. Because water, we have earth, fire, air, and our water is down here. So the water is actually your primary focus, because so it's time to tap back into your gifts and talents. And water, if you happen to be a late in the water group, which out of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces in particular, you carry every other sign within you. You have to become a Pisces, you've had to have traveled the entire zodiac to get here. So what they're saying is, especially if you are later in the system, Scorpio, Pisces, you already carry so much of the other elements that it's time to really use your gifts and skills. There's a lot of things available to you, and your shadow is trying to push at you, and that's kind of where this conflict is coming up as well as your crossing card. You've been ready to finish this project. There's that one thing that's just not in the way. Your shadow's like, yeah, there is this one thing in the way. It's because you're not paying attention. And basically, get back to your roots. That's where your higher self saying, pull back. The Hermit, step away from the world for a minute. Allow yourself silence. Allow yourself peace. Reconnect with your personal higher self. Reconnect with God, Source Divine, and you'll notice that all of a sudden you can see which tools you need to finish the job. You'll also see what it is that you've been pushing back on, and that's what's triggering the delay, so to speak. So it's definitely a time for some work, but it's inner work and it's quiet work. It's not like I have to go build a house work. Your history, so this could be the last 30 days, the last 6 months, the last year, is the Queen of Swords. There's been trials for you. There have been things that you have had to overcome, and in some ways you've had disappointment, because once you have learned these things, you realize that it wasn't probably what you wanted, but the beauty is you have gained so much wisdom and knowledge that that's actually a reward in itself. But don't forget, the pain of the past is here to teach us, and once we learn the lesson, the pain might still hurt a little bit, but it's not blinding you anymore to what is really happening. So your past, you've had to overcome some stuff, and that's where you've come into your balance, but that's also what has, in a way, you kind of shoved some things back, causing this block to occur. So water, it's time to really, since you're in a balanced state anyway, look at the reality of what's going on right now and figure out what needs to be toned down, taken out, and what needs to be uplifted or at least brought forward. So your immediate future sorry, is number 15, the Devil. So immediate future, next 30 days, 6 months, or a year, depending on who you are. With the Devil, it's saying you are your own worst enemy, and that's not to be, and I may say it laughingly, because in reality, water, we work with our emotions as a dominant force within our system. So somebody can say something minor, and it's going to trigger a cascade effect. And that's where we are kind of our own worst enemies. And they're saying in your future, you want to make sure that you're aware of what's going on in your shadow, which is all of those hidden talents and secrets, awarenesses that you may not use all the time, because that's going to help you diffuse your own sabotage. But they're saying don't get so wrapped up in trying to fix everybody else, because that's where that devil comes in. The devil's in the details. Everything has to be just perfect, and you will mess yourself up every single time. Sometimes painting with broad, kind of sloppy strokes creates the best image. And that's what they're saying is don't get bogged down in the small minutia, because you're actually going to miss the forest for the trees. I know a lot of cliches here, but the devil is a contrarian energy, and as that is the future here, it's saying, heads up, water, everything you've got going on right now is really good for you, but if you're not careful, you could actually become your own worst enemy. And that's where you definitely want to work with your higher self and your shadow in the next little bit, so that you can neutralize that possible future. The other part is you may be seen as the darkness. You might be seen as, well, you're not giving to me what I need. No, water, you're right. You as a water are not giving someone else something, and they're seeing you as the devil. So there's a couple of different ways to interpret this, and that is basically you are in the position of the devil. Either you're going to be your own worst enemy, or because you are standing in balance and you are using your gifts, skills, and abilities, and you're not wasting energy, you're not just draining yourself because you have some little energy vampire over there sucking off of everything. By saying no to them and putting up, healthy barriers, that's going to make them see you as the enemy. You're not. That's just because you're not giving into their nonsense. And that's another way that the devil could be manifesting. So definitely check in with how you are, your higher self and your shadow. Those are two of the biggest gifts you can ever have, because when you start to understand those, it helps you understand the balance, because you're standing in the center and they're above and below you. So work with that energy going forward so that you can stay in a healthy state as we progress on here. So your attitude, this is your inner world. We have the Seven of Swords. Air or water, you're this dude right here. You've done what you need to do. You've earned your rewards and you're defending it. This is an outside force that you're observing, because you're over here in your cave. You're observing this little guy over here going, you do not get to come in here and take away my stuff. And so your swords are all battle ready. They've been through some things, because internally you've been through some things, and you know the tricks of the trade at this point. That's where that devil energy in the future, it could be a couple of different things for you, but it's because you've already done the work. Don't try to come in here and stir up a water sign's energy. Stay out. You don't want to boil that pot, because water, it's really neutral, really passive. When it gets hot and going, bad things. And that's what it's saying here is you've already done this part, so be aware of anyone trying to reach in and steal your peace and quiet. That's unnecessary, and that's where those healthy boundaries come up. And with that, the other person may see water as the devil, because you're not giving in to their every whim and need. They need to figure their own stuff out. It's not your job to babysit them. So your environment, this is the outer world. These are generally things you don't have a lot of say in, but they can affect you. We have the Hierophant. And the Hierophant with this deck is actually kind of cool. But the Hierophant there is a generally seen as masculine energy coming in to offer support. The Hierophant can also be seen as the High Priest, so it could be a spiritual support, or it is a master of a craft that you have been wanting to learn. And with the environment here, it's saying you've done the inner work. The outer world may be struggling a little bit, but this is where you can have a possible masculine of some form energy coming in to be very supportive. That could be divine energy, God's source divine. It could be an archangel of some form or flavor. My phone is being ridiculous right now. Mute that thing. Or it could be a whole list of other ways of viewing the divine masculine. But what it's saying is this is a time for you. The outside world is going to be helping you learn and grow. When you come into the position of a Hierophant, when you come into the position of a High Priest, you are there as a teacher. So this outside energy that's coming forward with, the outside stuff that you don't have mass control over. What's coming forward is there's a teacher, there is a situation that is giving you the opportunity to grow, develop, and expand in a way that you may not have realized. And by doing that, I'm hearing that is going to help you overcome your challenge as well. So definitely pay attention as you go forward to what's going on around you, but don't get involved in it. That's the message of the higher self and the shadow, is be aware step away, don't get involved. But when something does come up as an opportunity to help support your growth, that's when you take the action. So your hopes and fears. We have the Five of Swords. Your hope really is to finally get over this speed bump that you're dealing with, this blockage that's just not moving. That's the hope. Get that thing out of the way. Your fear is failure. What if I don't succeed? What if this challenge is like the challenge and it will never let me go away? They might feel like that in a moment, but that's not actually how any of our life challenges are. God Source Divine gives us a lesson. Our karma can be setting these things in place, and generally what happens is you repeat a lesson and it will get a little more extreme if you don't learn the lesson. Like I'm good. I've learned that lesson. Blah blah blah. Pattern repeats. Well, I know I've learned that lesson. Pattern repeats. Because there's a lesson of emotions, there's a lesson of energy that goes along with it. When you come to terms, sometimes the lesson is being able to forgive yourself. Sometimes the lesson is, as much as you don't want to sometimes, forgiving the other person. And once you go through the process of the energy separation, which is working through that karma, all of a sudden those problems fade away. Those lessons stop repeating because you learned them. And your fear is that you have failed in some way. That's why the challenge is there. But your hope is that's not the case. So the hopes and fear card I always see as you're coming up to a crossroads or a fork in the road type thing. And where you're at right now, Water, is you have done a lot of the work. There's a lot of good advice there in the core. And as you're going through the sidebars, which is where the side cards are, when you get to the hopes and fears, it's saying, okay, this is what's at play right now. Now you get to choose which path. Do you want to choose the path of, I'm not sure, I could be doing the wrong thing, leading you towards that failure, or, you know what, I've put a lot of work in, I see what's happening, what is the lesson I have to learn here? In which case you choose the path of enlightenment. And in most cases, not always, but in most cases, the pattern will break because the lesson is learned and you no longer need to repeat it. So the overall outcome here is the Knight of Cups. This is the Knight of your energy. There's a lot of movement going on for you right now, Water. And with the Knight, we're dealing with a little bit of like military type stuff where you've had to fight either your inner world or something on the outside to be able to pass through this. But the Knight is saying you have the power to overcome your challenge. You have the ability to deal with what is coming up right now. Water, there is really nothing stopping you outside of, a lot of it's our own inner voices, and that's what the outcome is you're gonna get through this. You're gonna come through on the other side, and it's gonna feel like a warrior coming home from battle. Like, I succeeded. I dealt with this stuff. So your challenge may not be as intense as you in the moment might be feeling, because your outcome is really supportive. The inner world, the environment, or your attitude card is really saying you've been there, done that, you know how to defend yourself. The outside world is saying the support is available for you. You have that higher energy, whether it's a physical masculine or divine source masculine energy coming in to support you and show you how things can play out for the best. It's your decision what path you take, and your outcome is going to feel a little bit like a warrior coming home, where you knew you could do it and now you've succeeded beyond what you originally thought you could. So there's an underlying theme going on here, and it's the Fool. The underlying theme is, don't be naive about how things play out. Just because something happens, it doesn't mean, well, it's someone else's fault and they're picking on me. And it doesn't mean, well, how did I screw this up? It's saying, there's something going on. It's time to really reflect and find out where the source of that is. Generally, it's in your shadow. The Fool is saying, do not put blinders on and don't be naive. The situation here is really not that complicated for you, Water. It's actually going to play out really well once you figure out what that one little switch is, and generally that one switch will unravel the whole thing. And it's weird when to say that, because in the moment you're like, this doesn't work that way. And I will tell you straight up, I've had some really intense things go on in my life at times, and I mean, we all have it to some extent, and all it takes is one thing. Sometimes it's a comment from a friend. Sometimes it's a random headline that you'll see on the newspaper. Or sometimes it's just you'll be laying there daydreaming in bed trying to go to sleep at night, and all of a sudden something will pop in, and it's like the key that unlocks the solution. And when that happens, that's when you realize how foolish some of the other things that were going on really were, because now you can see the pattern in its completion. So overall, Water, you're doing really well. The Celtic Cross here is saying you've dealt with some stuff, you're dealing with some stuff, but you have the ability to balance yourself because you've already been there, done that. This is not a new thing for you. It's just finding that one spark that will unlock the door. So, moving on to our oracle cards. If you have a question, you can always push pause and see what comes forward. The oracle cards can be unique and be just advice, or they can tie into the tarot as well. So, your first card is the Dragonfly. Live life to the fullest. Water. What is it that you've wanted to do? What do you want to do? Do the things that bring you joy. Do the things that feed your soul. If it feeds your soul to sit down and read a spiritual book, do that. If it feeds your soul to bake bread for someone else, do that. Living life to the fullest doesn't mean going out and partying and carrying on and carousing, because that doesn't really feed your soul in most cases. Sometimes, but not usually. When we talk about living life to the fullest, what feeds the core of who you are? What uplifts you? What enlightens you? Live life to the fullest. Do the things that are important. Do the things that hold value. Do the things that bring a smile to your face and a smile to your soul. Your second card, which actually ties into the first, is sensuality. Express your sensuality. Sensuality has kind of been tweaked in the modern world to mean bedroom activities, but sensuality is actually enhancing and using your senses to experience the world. When you really tap into the sense of smell at a meal, and you are observing it, sight, then you take a bite of it and you taste the flavors. Allow the flavors to actually go across your whole tongue. When you slow down through eating, it awakens all of your senses, the texture, the sight, the smell, the taste. You can hear other people enjoying the food as well. And if you are some places, if you go to restaurants and stuff, you can hear them like the sizzling plate. That brings the ears into effect. So awakening your senses as you go through life. When you are crawling into bed, do you feel the sheets? Do you smell the dryer sheets or the fabric softener or whatever it is that you have on there? Feel the weight of the blankets, the texture. There's all these different things, and when we really start to live in the now moment, your senses wake up in a different way. That allows you to see more clearly, hear more clearly, in a lot of ways think more clearly, because you're not putting up the blocks like, oh, I can't have this. It's just, I've got to stop it. Allow your senses to bring information to you, sort out the information that works and doesn't work. But when you express yourself that way, when you look at art done by some of the older creators, you can see that they were tying senses. You can almost smell the flowers. You can almost feel the warmth from the sun as you stare at it. Those are enhanced in expressing your sensuality. And that does tie into living life to your fullest. So you've got a good combination going on here. So your third card is celebration. Let go and have fun. Water. Go forth and do great things. Have fun with life. When you have the challenges, find a way to laugh through them. Find a way to celebrate every little thing. Your spouse got a promotion. Celebrate. You got an extra day off from paid day off from work, like a holiday or something. Celebrate it. You have a munchkin who just graduated their first grade, their whatever grade. Celebrate. Find reasons for joy. Find reasons to spread the joy. Celebrate the little things and the big things, accordingly, of course. But find ways to really tap into that joy of life. That's what I'm getting through your oracles here, is living more in the now moment, living more aware of your body, we are a spiritual being. This is just a meat suit we drive, but the meat suit actually can give us amazing spiritual connections and experiences. Your oracle cards with the dragonfly, sensuality, and celebration are saying, do the things that bring you the joy, experience it with all of who you are, and then step into that celebratory aspect of, this is where I'm supposed to be. Things are going to be interesting this month for water. There's going to be some growth, but it's going to end up in a really good spot. Your oracle is really wanting to bring forward, if you follow the basic tenets of joy and happiness, not like instant joy, like long-term joy where you're just content with how things are. You're building things more, you're still growing, but you're not like, oh, I'm happy now, and then you crash. That's not joy. That's manic stuff, and not medical or anything like that. Just like, our lives bounce a lot anyway, but when you find that peace that goes beyond finding that balance, which is where you're at right now, that triggers the rest of your oracle cards to be able to be an option again. So definitely work with finding your balance, work with your shadow and your higher self, and don't let other people pick on you this month. It's not worth their time, and it's not worth yours for sure. With that, I will let you guys go. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know your thoughts, feelings, and impressions, and I will see you in the next video.